Hey Jimmy, let's talk about it. It's loud, the music? Let me turn it down a little bit. I ain't been on here in so long. I can't figure out how to do the green screen. I got to update. Um, Isaiah's Corona. So my website has additional information for studies and research on all topics of nature, spirit, and commerce. When it comes to state and national, I suggest watching the playlist on my profile. I have a few good ones on being a national, how to operate, how to govern yourself. It's a lifestyle. It's a way of living, representing that type of entity. But I have a template and an example. I think it's Texas of how to do the declaration to basically pledge allegiance to the Republican sovereign state that you reside in. Because right now you're basically operating full blast as a corporate franchise of a bankrupt entity known as the U.S. And it's hard to make that separation that you're just using a corporation as an interface from the bankrupt public, no matter what it is. Even people that are private, they use agents who also have to use a corporation. That's the pretty much only way to interact or interface with the public, is you have to have some type of entity as a buffer, a shield that they can interact with, because they're in the world of the dead. They're in the paper world, and we are the living human sovereigns that push and move and make everything operate. But that is one of the hardest keys and foundations to grasp and understand, is that we are not that entity. We're not the national. We're not the citizen. We're neither one of them. You can create any type of trust to do business with, inside or outside of the corporate domain. You can create trust to operate in the public, the republic, the private, personal. It's basically it's all up to you. And a lot of people are taught this from the very beginning, but we were never taught any of this by design, and they didn't put it in our public education systems because they don't want us to become self-educated and well aware of what's really going on. But luckily for y'all, I spent 10 years researching on my own to learn all this stuff. So it just it takes time to be well versed. How's everybody doing? It's Friday. It's been a while. Sorry about it. I've been on vacation. Really enjoyed it. It's fun. So, what's everybody up to? Any questions or anything? I'm here to help. My time is for you. Y'all got me for about an hour and a half, and if it goes that far. Jimmy, you talking about the defendant? The domicile of a defendant? Usually a defendant within the public court system is the citizen, and they have jurisdiction over the citizen. And once you start separating that difference between you and the citizen, they start to kind of be like, crap, because you're more educated than 99% of the people out there. And I've actually watched a video where a guy was talking to a judge, and he was in jail, and I've done it too. When you go to jail, they'll have video screens where you can talk to the judge through being locked up and stuff. And the guy had very little knowledge, but he was somewhat awake, and that's what happens to most of us is we get a little, we're lazy by nature, so we usually just get a little bit of information and then try to run with it, and usually it's not the best information or not complete or whole, and that's why I lay foundations. You must lay foundations, and then you can build upon them, and then no matter what happens, you're not getting shooken or shaken. So I watched the video, and the guy was basically saying that he's not the citizen, he's not the corporate person, and the judge, by contract law, everything that the judge says is an offer. And the judge, it was a dance. I watched him. It was so funny. The judge says, yeah, okay, you're not the person, but I'm here to administer the account of the person, and and after like the third or fourth sentence, he says, he starts off saying, yeah, you're not the same person, but I'm seeing the same person, and you and him, you know, y'all are both one and the same. And just like that, the judge moved the guy's understanding, because the guy behind the bars had no clue what he was doing. You know, we're not taught any of this stuff. We're not taught that every word is an offer. We're not taught that how contract law works, and you can rebut or respond in 4 different ways to everything the judge says. So the judge says, you know, he starts off saying, yeah, y'all are separate, but, you know, I'm here to do this, that, and the other, and then y'all are both one and the same. And the guy didn't say anything. And then so as soon as the judge says you and the citizen are one and the same, it basically merged them back together, put it back. It's a court. It's a game. You got to go back and forth between you and the judge. So when the judge did that, he solidified on the record that the human who was speaking is now the citizen, and they're one and the same, even though that's not the case and can't be the case. But when it comes to a court case, whatever happens in a public court case, it stands as a fact. So when the judge says, you know, y'all are one and the same, and no rebut was happened, it stands as a fact. Now the guy could have said, I categorically reject your offer of saying that we're one and the same. I am not the U.S. citizen. I'm an authorized representative here to settle, and close the account. And let the record show. If the judge doesn't reply or respond to that offer, then you say, let the record show that I am the authorized representative for the estate. You know, it's like it's a game, and it's very tricky, and it's very nerve-wracking, because we've always been taught our entire life that we are the worthless subjects that are being beaten over the head by police officers, and we have no rights. We have rights, but really we're just granted privileges as a citizen. So, fresh air. Yeah, I have a passport. I've had a passport, and I wrote on it that it's for a national. It's not for a citizen, because from what I've the research that I've done, they say that there's stars that mean different things, and from what I've seen and understand about the passport, or port pass is what it's really called, to pass through ports, is that depending on how many stars you have is depending on what kind of security risk you are. But there's no way to really verify that. I don't work in the NSA. I don't work in the Passport Administration Office. I don't work in TSA. I don't have the private access to the screens of the services that I'm trying to request permission from them to use. So on my passport, it has a special section that says, if there's any special whatever, I just put the holder of this passport is not a U.S. citizen. And I even circled, because on my passport it says for citizens and nationals. And I just circled national on the thing, and then on one of the pages I put, the holder of this passport is not a citizen. So, and I've had no problem with it. I've traveled all over the world with it, so it works. But I've had a passport. I don't even know when it expires. I actually have to look, because I'm probably going to Turkey pretty soon. Isaiah, thanks, I appreciate it. I've been really interested in starting the process. So Isaiah, like I said, the National is just a corporation that you can represent, and I have a lot of videos on all this stuff. If you go on my TikTok profile page, you can start to understand and comprehend how everything kind of works. I always suggest, it takes a while, but I always suggest watching all the playlists from start to back. Maybe once or twice, some of the information, because I do kind of talk fast sometimes, and a lot of this language is foreign because we're not taught this stuff. And I have been submerged within this language for years and years and years and years and years. And at first I was just a parrot. First I tried to repeat and run with stuff, and I was sounding stupid and didn't know when people asked questions. But eventually I came to the understanding of how it all really works, and am able to help others. So that's where I'm at now, is I'm on here flowing my energy to try to give everybody guidance and understand through this crazy world where we're basically just taught to be sheep to earn funds and revenue for the controllers of the corporations that we have been publicly educated to work for. So ICUT 143, citizen equals social security number, public, or EIN, private. EIN is just a tax identification number. There's a FEIN, there's a EIN, there's a TIN, there's I think there's another one. There's a SSN. They're all just tax identification numbers for different types of corporation. The U.S. citizen is a very unique type of corporation called an individual trust. Even though a trust is not an individual, and that's like it's all flim flam, smoke and mirrors. It's just kind of a trick, and we're all bamboozled all the time by that kind of stuff. So, Jimmy B, they need permission from the surety for the defendant. They don't have it. They don't, but they get it real quick. Like as soon as you say you're the name, like as soon as they say John Doe, and you sit up and say here, it's like boom, you got surety. Like that, he got it that quick. And even if you try to start some of that sovereign citizen crap, they're trained. They watch. They have videos of recordings because they can record their stuff, right? So they tell us we can't record when we're in their, military tribunal or whatever it is, freaking admiralty, public, international, commercial courtrooms. They record everything. And trust me, when judges go to school, they're watching some of the best sovereign citizen, quote unquote, sovereigns operate in the world that have ever operated. I guarantee you there's some playlist somewhere that has been compiled because all of the courtrooms in the world operate about the same way. They all operate under UCC code, and they're all trained. All the judges are trained in that, and I guarantee you there is like a 101 on what to do when dealing with someone who thinks they're sovereign but is not well educated or able to die on the sword under that understanding. And they probably sit there and watch how judges react. They watch when sovereigns win. They watch when sovereigns lose. They have books on the stuff, what to say, how to act. I've seen judges that don't even know how to act, and they just get up and leave. And when a judge gets up and leave, you automatically get to take control of the court. You say, let the record reflect that the administrator has removed himself from the playing field. I am now taking control of the court fully. I am now setting this case and account for closure. Let it be dismissed forever or whatever. You can take control over the court if the judge leaves. You can put on his hat. But he's just a neutral party who has pledged allegiance to the public to uphold it. And the public is uneducated, bankrupt, and crazy. And that's the system that he's sworn an oath to uphold. So where are we at? Citizen Jimmy B. Nope, already did that. IC Tooth, human equals DNA citizen, SSN or EIN. I don't know where you're getting that from. Human DNA citizen. So a citizen comes from the word city, zen, right? So before there were like countries and larger corporations, the biggest things around were cities, and when you were a citizen, you were on that ship. You were a basically passenger on the ship. You were a citizenship. So, but not all citizens have SSNs or EINs. They don't have to. You can create a citizen that doesn't have either one of those. You can create a trust. You can create all kinds of things. Fresh Air, glad to meet you too. Welcome to the trial show, as people call it. Normally I'm black screened out, but I can't. TikTok did an update, and I don't know how to do the black screen where it's just me. But I tried to move my picture way up so y'all could see y'all's comments at the bottom. Hopefully that'll help, because normally I wear black. I didn't wear black today, or something dark, because it's easier to see y'all's comments. All right, so let's get some questions. Hey, how you doing, Petey Pablo? Nice to see you. All right, Petey, we need you in our Team America group. I can check it out. I'm normally kind of like a freelance flower man, just kind of led as I do things. Not typically joining groups. I don't mind speaking at places and stuff like that, but I'd have to check out your, what you got going on. Palmer Reality. Do you know the process to getting access to the funds of the trust account as a U.S. citizen? Yes, it's on my profile page of my TikTok playlist called Discharging Debt. IC Ute 143. I am DNA. I have a cyst. Yes, there you go. That sounds better. Yes, you have dinucleic acid or whatever that stuff's called. You're the flesh. Well, actually, you're not. Even the flesh is just something that you have possession over, but it's not like it's just a temporary thing. You're more than that. You're the spirit that animates this flesh-bodied frame. Like you're sovereign. Like you're a fractal spark of the creators that is flowing through you. And whether or not your spirit is whole or not is another story. And that's, like I said, it's on my profile page to understand all that stuff. But What you see here, my flesh is not the true me. The words that are flowing out from the creators and me is what's basically the truth. That's the eternal. This natural light, this natural realm is temporary. Petey Pablo, I am part of the upstate New York chapter. That sounds like a motorcycle gang. Is that correct? Don't tread on me. My courthouse don't allow phones in court. Can they do that? Yeah, it's their rules and regulations for entering and using their services. If you truly embody the sovereign and know how to operate, you can do stuff through paperwork, but when it comes time to enforcement, you either need to bring a witness with you, through 2 or more witnesses may everything be established, or if you can bring a phone in or a mic, but typically you go through a security check because they don't want any guns, bombs, explosives, poisons, gas, they don't want any of that stuff in there, because people are uneducated, bankrupt, and crazy, and you never know what they're going to do. They could try to bring a gun in there. They could try to shoot up some people. Like they don't want any of that stuff to happen. So that's why you go through all the security check, and they definitely don't want you recording because if you catch them, that's why you can bring your own stenographer in there. You can bring a witness. You can memorialize stuff through affidavit form and whatnot if needed. But typically, they don't allow videos, and that's why it's so cool when you see someone who's trying to be sovereign, that's able to get a camera in there and their phone in there and able to record, because typically none of the courts allow that stuff. So, all right, Humble Hollow. All judges are required to go to seminary school before acquiring their judgeship. Yes, they absolutely have to pass. And imagine the training that a Supreme Court judge has. They have to know foundational annotated statutes of some of the most important cases that have ever happened on earth, because they could easily or accidentally overthrow or make a judgment that undermines or is incorrect or incomplete with judgments that have happened in the past. So a Supreme Court judge has to go through tons of stuff, and you will never see a Supreme Court judge leave a case unless he's sick, dying, or has to go to the bathroom. They are very, very, very well versed in the constitutional law, citizenship, sovereignty, corporate law, like all kinds of stuff, federal jurisdiction, state jurisdiction, all that stuff. So, Jimmy B, for the name game, you say, I grant my name by special deposit to the court for future return on my interest. You can do that. There's 78 billion ways to handle a court case. I wouldn't grant them the name. They already have the name. You can say, I'm here for special private priority means to settle, and close the account, because they need your signature. That's basically the only thing that has true value. If you look at every fiat currency on earth, it has to have signatures on it for it to have any value, because a sig nature or simulated nature is what basically is the value. It's the gold, because a human has moved it. Well, nowadays it's all digital. You digitally sign and stuff, but it represents a signature from a human flesh blood being who is underwriting the surety on the account. And that's what happens on the account in court, is they need the human as the surety to underwrite the U.S. citizen so that they can monetize the bonds. If you don't offer your body up as surety or a signature up, they need 3 signatures in order to put you in jail, and you're agreeing. Well, they can arrest you, but to do judgment, they need 3 signatures. I think it's the judge, you, and the opposing party, because that's the triangle, that's the trifecta, that's the three witnesses all together. So you can always conditionally accept signing something. You can always write different types of verbiage on your signature for if it's a restrictive endorsement. You got all kinds of options in court, and it sucks. Like, it would be so cool to see the training that the judges go through, but then the whole game would be up. Like, if somebody was releasing that stuff, it'd be hands down a slam dunk win for everybody. All right, Petey Pablo, you're a good dude. Glad to come across your spot. Absolutely, buddy. I'm here. Like I've been doing this for a while. I missed a few weeks here, but I try to come on here once a week to help everybody get a little bit of guidance, and I make videos for people, and I text. People can DM me, they can text me, they can call me, they can check out my email, website. If you go on this live will be on YouTube, the video, the audio will be on my Telegram group. All of my social media links are on my website. My website is located on the profile page of my TikTok. If y'all want to see any more additional information, it's also, you can go on my website and browse through the 3 categories of nature, spirit, and commerce. That is what I am here to do, is to lay down the foundations for understanding of nature, spirit, and commerce. And that's me. So I'm here for y'all, though. That's my oh yeah, it is tripping. I remember that. I normally try not to show video like this, but like I said, I couldn't do the green screen this time. So just enjoy it as the ambiance of trippy effects that just somehow display bit frame rates has granted us. Where are we at? Broadened activist division. Almost. Flesh is the vessel home that carries the soul. It is not the home, because the soul can go out of the flesh, bearded activities, while you're still in it. So the flesh is not the home. It is just it's called the tabernacle in the Bible, which is a mobile place of worship. It is the temporary vessel that we've all been given as a sacrificial animal in order to become one with the creators. All right, Eric, thank you for the insight and positive thoughts on the most important subject I've ever heard. What subjects is that, Holmes? I'm on all kinds of stuff. I have I have looked at the Kabbalah. Some of it's in alignment with my studies and understanding, but that is actually almost everybody that I've learned from. Nobody sees things how I see the world 100%, and I learn and gain from everybody and everything, because we're all one, you know what I'm saying? But my vision and my voice and my walk and my foundation is for me, for y'all, but there's nobody that I've met yet that is like 100% with everything the way I see it, and that's fine. That's the beauty of life, right? We're not just all copied and pasted fractals, but we all are fractals, which is a perfect replication of the Creator within. But we are deceived with the natural light without, and that's how Lucifer, the natural light, deceives us all through the temporary light. It shows the temporary vessels of division, which is what deceives the entire world, because we're all one. And we're all confused with this flesh, thinking that we're all separate, but we're not. And that's the trick. I've been on TikTok going through. Somebody was tripping on mushrooms, saying, "Y'all ain't gonna believe this, man." But when I was tripping, I found out the truth, and the truth is that we're all one, because their pineal gland got unlocked some, and they were seeing things. And I'm not opposed to certain natural things. You know, I'm all for, like, not quote unquote calling it microdosing, but natural remedies that help us to enlighten our spiritual awakening in different ways and stuff like that. But when you're taking drugs just to trip balls just for fun and stuff like that, like I don't think that's the best path. But that's just my view. Eric, how do I change my status, and do you recommend changing status from U.S. citizen to state national? So both of them are just corporations that you can represent as a human. It's up to you. You can represent a trust. You don't have to do either a different type of trust. They're both trusts, but everything's in trust. So we're all tricked into thinking that it's a corporation, LLC. They're all businesses. They're all trust structures. So I have more information on my website under Commerce, Business Structures, Trust if you want to learn more about that. But I recommend watching the playlist on my profile, Foundation, Nature, Spirit, and Commerce, and that will help re-educate you from the beginning. So you will have foundations that you can build upon that cannot be shaken, and you'll be able to withstand almost anything. You should take notes while you're watching them also, because I made them, I didn't make them in order of how I thought everybody should be taught. Originally, when I started this, people kept asking the same exact questions over and over again, and I'm like, I'm tired of answering these on lives. I'll just make a video, because like, how do you get title to your car? So I was tired of answering that, so I just made a video about it. So, but if you watch the playlist, it will change your world. Oh, study suretyship. I know that we can be the surety, Jimmy B. I do know about that. Um, and when you offer the name up, um, uh, when you're saying that, you can't offer it up because it's not yours. You're just the representation of it. So when I break stuff down to its simplest form, that's how I've always learned and been taught. And I can go look it up. And I have looked it up. I've read what suretyship means. But when you say you're offering up the name as surety, they already have the name. They don't need your name for surety. They need you, the authorized representative, to admit that you are the surety or you are the citizen so that they can administer the account. When you come in there and deposit the name as special deposit, the name is not what has the money. It's the Social Security and the bonds in the background that has the money. So the name has no value. It's just the name of a corporation. Your mama could have called you Methuselah or Coca-Cola or Sprite. The name has no value because it was just randomly picked letters by your mom and dad. The Social Security bonds that underwrite the suretyship and the private that are being monetized is what underwrites the name. So when you offer the name as surety, they already own the name. They control the name. They created it. You control what you create. They created the name. So when you're saying you're offering the name up as surety for special private priority, yeah, that's banking terminology, but that's not how it really works. And it sounds great and it looks good and all that, but like I said, I've studied that stuff. I know how it works. It started at the very beginning. You control what you create. They created the name. The corporation. Your mom chose the letters, but they created the corporation of that name. And when you're, like you say, you're offering it up as surety, it's not yours to offer. They already have it. It's like, thanks for giving me what I already have. That's like you saying you're going to offer me my shirt. It's like, thanks, dude. I appreciate it. I'm glad I get to keep my shirt. Humble Hollow. Those who chose the law are bound by it. Yes, judges are the test of fire. It's truly incredible. It is incredible play. So it's hard to understand this, but it's actually kind of a beautiful system. And the only thing, once I came to a good enlightenment of understanding, that I didn't like about the system is when somebody gets hurt and they have to keep working out there because they don't understand how the whole system works and how to monetize their bonds and like all this stuff. I don't like that the bills keep coming. Your lights will get turned off if you're not there. And I grew up my whole life watching people with broke toes, ankles, and legs and all this stuff that had to keep on trucking. And it's just like, and a corporation will work you into the ground. They, and that's their model. Every corporation for profit is out there for increasing commerce and getting stuff at the bottom dollar. And that's why the IRS system, believe it or not, is honorable. And they even tell you, if you're working not for profit, they will not tax you. Because when you're working for profit, they know how that system is insidious and will harm people because all they care about is the bottom dollar. The very people at the top who are running the board do not care about the employees, but to a little bit to just keep them happy, to keep on playing the game for them, because the employees at the bottom are holding up the board at the top, and the top of the board is what makes the decisions down, but they really don't care too much about the people as long as they're making them good money. So a for-profit system is insidious. And when you're just a little worker bee down at the bottom helping support that system, you're part of the issue, right? So you figure out how to work not for profit. There you go. Boom. Tax exhausted. Simple as that. Now you don't have to pay taxes anymore, and you're not engaged in for-profit public commerce that is hurting the public because you're engaged in bankrupt banking for profit for a system that doesn't even care about you. So that's why they tax you, But anyway, it is a beautiful game in court. The judges are gatekeepers, and I have studied thousands of hours, and I have listened to people who have won cases, who have you can touch a judge in equity, even in the public. There's public equity. I've seen judges in the public say that I'm gonna go ahead and balance. The judge literally said, I'm gonna balance the equities on this account because some girl was crying, she was a single mother, some crazy crap happened, and she touched the judge in the public to the point that he invoked public equity on an account and was like, and he said this on the public, I'm going to go ahead and balance the equities out on this account for you. And I was just like, wow, it's so cool. That was a freaking TV show or something. Might have been like Judge Brown. I don't remember, but Judges are gatekeepers, and they have sworn an oath to uphold the public who is bankrupt and uneducated. Rev, thank you so much for the roses. I appreciate you. I do. I appreciate everything. All your support will go to help to fund and enlighten more people, because I transform your gifts into promoting videos that will help educate the public. And I made a goofy video. My last video was supposed to be kind of funny, but it was also kind of true. Even though I said, unless you're a hot chick, you ain't getting likes. I see TikTok videos all the time that get millions and millions of views that ain't hot chicks. It was just supposed to be kind of a joke, showing like what more do I got to do to go viral? Like, if I go viral with one, I do, but I'm not holding my breath, because what I teach is very esoteric and very specific to a small niche of people. Like, the public is not ready for the stuff that I put out. So, Tribunal. Palmer, yes. Shared live. Thanks for the share. Angel. Eric, just the power that we have in court. I'm tired of being under Admiralty Maritime. So, Eric, there's 3 jurisdictions. And if I move my video, you'll see them. These are the 3 jurisdictions that are behind us. There's water, air, and land. And you can invoke any of them as a sovereign. You have the right to invoke any of those. So take some time, watch the playlist, and it will definitely help you be educated about that stuff. Hey, what's up? DWG on Earth. I guess it's Dog on Earth. When I see DWG, it reminds me of AutoCAD files, because that's the extension for all AutoCAD files. It's just, I've done a lot of drawing on AutoCAD. Actually, I drew this triangle in AutoCAD. So that's how indoctrinated I am with AutoCAD. But what's up, man? Jimmy B, how do you get the title of the car? LO, just kidding. You set yourself up for that one. That's funny, man. The name does have value in court. They need you to create joinder. Do it right. It works. Yeah, they do, but if you create a joinder and you're admitting, it depends on how you offer up surety. There's all kinds of ways. You can bring in the standard forms. You can bring in the public standard forms for the bid bond, payment bond, and performance bond. There is 78 million ways. I'm not saying what you said won't work. I'm saying, I'm just saying that when you break it down, it's not ethical to me. It's not my path. It's not what I'm teaching. But I'm not saying that I've seen judges give remedies to people that shouldn't have gotten it, like, at all. And it's just like, it just depends on the judge, because they weren't handling themselves right or said the wrong thing. But most of the times, because as Humble Hollow said, they're honorable and they actually enjoy when someone's educated and awake, but they also need to protect the public, right? So if you're colorable with them, like, is it wise to handle private matters in the public like this? If you got a bunch of sheep behind you and they can't handle assets, and you're trying to come in there and everybody's like, oh, I could just be the authorized representative for the estate and sign, set off, settle, and close the account. That's all they need is your signature. Ask the judge where you want me to sign. But if you do that when there's people behind you, the judge is going to be mad, because you're giving too much assets to a bankrupt public that can't hold assets. So. But when you do certain things and you touch the judge's heart, like, they love when people are actually awake and educated, because that means that you're not like a freaking worker bee with blinders on that's just like a robot going through the motions. Like, you actually have taken time to understand how things really work. And judges kind of, if you said, I am here as John Doe, they'll go like this. That's colorable. That's a colorable way. You don't have to say you're the authorized representative of the public. You can say, I'm here. You may refer to me as John Doe. And a judge will be like, not in the Mason sign with the glasses, but the eyes will open. Thanks for the diamonds. Thanks for the roses again, Rev. Love you. Jimmy, the name has value. Yep. Plant eater. Hey, I'm a plant eater too. We are the implied surety. Yes, we are. Our flesh is. And we usually offer it up very quickly as surety. Humble Hollow. Oh, agreed. The system is broken because it's built by man. It's coming to an end. So the system is changing. It is. And I hate to say it in this phrase, but it appears that the people at the very, very top. Now, you got to remember how corporations work. The people at the top, basically, all the companies are compartmentalized idiots who receive orders from up top. So when people at the top make decisions like, vaccinate the whole world, nobody at the bottom knows how that order came down, where it came from, how it got enforced. None of that stuff, right? So when you're down at the bottom, and I have done it, and I'll tell everybody 101 from the very beginning. I have worked at the bottom as a laborer at a company and gone all the way up to the top in the board, and it blew my mind going through all the steps from contracts to bidding and being up at the top. The people at the top that make decisions, that run everything, the people at the bottom have no clue. You could be the best worker, best employee, working every day, all day, getting up early, leaving late, all that stuff, and you could just get fired like that because some guy in the boardroom said we need to lay off 40 people, and it's like, you're gone. You're bye-bye, deuce and a bye-bye. And that's how it works on that one company. So imagine that one company has to take orders from another company that has to take orders from another company that has to take orders from another company that has, the 13 families or 2 elite, 3 people, whatever at the top. It's just, you have no clue. Thanks for sharing the live. The Mad Gray. Thoughts on our name being secondhand knowledge and not fact in court. So how it works on court is anything said or done in a court that is not disputed or rebutted stands as a fact. So if the judge says your name was given to me by a pigeon on a Tuesday that Michael Jackson wrote and nobody says anything, for that court case, it stands as a fact. If you say I used to make love on the moon, and nobody says anything, it stands as a fact. You could take that transcript from, if you said I make love on the moon and nobody rebutted, you could take that transcript and it's enforceable anywhere on earth. You could be like, this is a certified fact. I make love on the moon. Get it on, brother. So the name, even though you had no clue what type of symbols that your mom was going to choose to start the corporation, that's irrelevant when it comes to court. Although you can bring it up, there's 78 billion ways to handle a court case. You can bring that up that you have no clue about that name, you don't represent it or whatever. They're just going to issue a warrant out for it, and then eventually they're going to adhere to you if you've ever signed adhesion contracts or you think you are that name or this, that, and other. So it's a tricky game. We're not taught it, and it takes time to learn, but once you figure it out, it's like it's almost like it's a double-edged sword. It's a relief, but it's also kind of depressing because you walk around and nobody has any clue. They have no clues that they're operating a bankrupt franchise of the United States that is controlled and operated by DC. Like, nobody knows this stuff. So it gets kind of depressing and lonely, but it's also kind of cool because knowledge is power and you can use it. And the most powerful people on earth have the ability and the means to win any battle. But it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war, if that makes any sense. All right. Cruz, I mean no disrespect by asking, but do you mind telling us what you do in commerce or financials? Yes. So I work for family. I help them out. My U.S. citizen is engaged in property management, and it is for profit because I don't really care. But that's what I do to earn some of my income, or the U.S. citizen's income. All right. Eric, thank you. Woodworking woman. I have been studying. It is scary to do it right. I am not willing to go to jail. Yeah, none of us are, and we still go. Like, nobody wants to go in there. But the funny thing is once you learn out the whole system, how it's laid out, everybody is in there by choice. Because of lack of knowledge, not understanding, signing and agreeing and nodding and, just going along with it and not standing up and learning your rights. So none of us go to jail by choice, trust me. Well, I stand corrected. I have seen bums in there that want 3 meals and a cot. I saw another guy that said, as soon as I get out, I'm robbing a bank. Like, I was in jail trying to get out. They wouldn't give me a bond. They wouldn't give me work release. It wouldn't, like, I was like, I want to get out of here. And I'm over here, and this guy's like, as soon as I get out, I'm robbing a bank. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, why? He's like, because either way, I'm going to be taken care of for the rest of my life. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm either going to get all that money, or they're going to arrest me, and I'll be back in here getting 3 hots and a cot. And I'm like, dude, that's nuts. Absolutely crazy. Thanks, Rev. Absolutely. Humble Hollow. Yeah, they silo each piece to keep the ignorance flowing. Edification is the key. That's right. And that's why I'm here trying to raise the consciousness of our body. We're all one entity. We're all one in unity. Like, we're connected through all three of the lights, believe it or not. We're connected through the spiritual light, the natural light, and the commercial light. We are all one, and all this intertwined together in love and fire together. Now, again, a lot of people are operating at lower frequencies and vibrations in the animalistic way, where they think we're all divided and are very selfish, right? Because when you start acting in an animalistic manner down at the lowest chakra in the natural light, you basically have your basic necessities, which is food, water, sleep, sex, air, and then after that, it's what is necessary. And as a selfish individual animal, right, it's like money or food or property or hoarding or whatever. You got different levels of importance that is your choice. Humble. Prime example of the scripture saying, do not store up treasures on earth. 100. Hallelujah. I love it. Yeah. So that's where your treasures are in heaven, right? And your consciousness that you can continue. We're all batteries, naturally, spiritually, and commercially. And commerce is neutral. And I started teaching that last live, where all of the symbols on the trust triangle can actually also be flipped over. And that's going to be nice listening to that poof later. The triangle is flipped over by the dark side, which tries to put the spirit down and nature up and make nature seem like it's positive when it's really negative, and spirit is supposed to be positive. But when you're storing your treasures up in heaven as a battery, commerce is neutral, and it depends on what you do with it. And that's why the moon goes through all the phases from the spiritual light to the natural light. It's the buffer, the interface. Like it depends on what you do with your commerce that determines everything. Your commerce is neutral, or it's positive or negative. And be careful, because like I said, the enemy can flip it around very quickly to make it seem as though nature is positive. And that's how we kind of all operate, is thinking that the natural realm is the true light when it's not. And it's just all a tricky game. Like it gets real deep real quick. So the next part of the scripture speaks exactly about storing up wisdom. Yes. And then in Proverbs, it speaks about seeking the knowledge of God more than treasures on earth. It's like the most valuable thing, and that's why I was amazed when I put out a spiritual video, and it's like, wow, it only saw 600 views. Like, yay, I'm teaching everybody how to truly store up treasures and understand scriptures and unlock and change their life forever through the Spirit. Nobody wants that. All they want to know about is that mammon, that money, that commerce, that the contract law. And that's, it is what it is, the way of the world. But yes, absolutely 100. I agree. John David Novak. The United States is full of people who feel in their soul they're free. No paper or text matters. That is 100% true. And I'll be real with you. All of y'all could have lived the rest of your life in peace and in harmony, not knowing that the U.S. citizen was a corporation. Y'all could have not known about the spiritual stuff I'm releasing, or the commerce. Like, there's people that live and die very happy. Like, I tried to teach my grandfather some of this stuff, and he was just like, I don't even want to know. He's like, you know what you're saying is probably right. But he just wants to be happy and ignorant, and that's fine. You can be happy while ignorant. It's all about love. I'll be honest with you. That's all that really matters. Spending 600 hours a day studying freaking texts, if there was 600 hours a day, of commercial law. Like, you want a boring life? Spend the next 10 years of your life doing what I did. Although I had fun because I was able to work and study at the same exact time through listening to audio, and I enjoyed it. But spend the rest of your life in a book, like reading, like learning. Then what? Then what's next? A lot of the teachers that I learned from, like 10 years later, they're like, all that matters is being in love and being at peace, and your come from and how you are and how you live. That's the most important thing. But what's cool about it is, if you have all that knowledge, like being a warrior in a garden, you're able to flow out the knowledge and swat down and bat. Like, if anything doesn't go your way, you can change and shape your world through the contracts that you keep on a day-to-day basis very easily. And people have no clue about any of this stuff. They don't understand that every word that they say is a contract offer. Like, even if your kid comes to you and says that I want to go to the party on Sunday, you can say, If you clean your room, that's a conditional acceptance. That's contract law. Are they going to accept it? Are they going to clean their room? If they want to go out on the party Saturday, yeah. So it's just contract law. Like, don't nobody think like that. I mean, I do. So it's kind of like a blessing and a curse, but it is what it is. Planner, what are your thoughts on name correcting through the court? I wouldn't correct the name. Like, it's just a name. It's just the name of a corporation. If you're trying to do if you're asking the state for permission to marry, and you're marrying the state, and they're allowing your corporations to merge or to do business together, and your spouse wants to change her last name of her corporation to be in harmony with yours, yeah, sure, do it that way. That's fine. But as far as like trying to be the registered user or whatever, like there's people out there teaching you can be the registered user of your name, you can have it up there, and it's like you already are. You don't need to do all that stuff. You're just wasting your time spending money doing doubly proving what you already are in court. But a court, unless you're creating a record on your own, which is the highest court, to correct something, a public statute, code enforcement policy procedure of some low court is next to nothing, like in my world. You don't need them for anything unless you're trying to enforce your contracts in the public. They are there for us to use. Most of us are only there to try to pay freaking code infractions and enforcement officers, but really the same court you can use to enforce your will. You can create a private administrative procedure and have a claims court use the law enforcement officers to enforce your will, get money for you. You can go after their bonds. There's so many things you can do. Like it's wild once you start waking up. Fresh air. Do you sign if the judge tells you he will discharge the debt if you accept or create joiner? Yeah. I mean, you can sign as long as it's on the record to discharge the debt, but it depends as long as there's nothing else like underwriting the agreement, like he's suspending jail time or some stuff like that. And to be honest with you, I've told several people, because it takes a long time to learn all this stuff, and they just want to go in court and handle it, and they're like, yeah, man, they're offering me a plea agreement of a misdemeanor of like 1 day suspended and $100, man, but I want to go in there and fight. And I'm like, are you crazy? Take the deal. Just take the easy way out. You try to go up there and start waving the sovereign flag and trying to do this, so you could end up with freaking 10 days in jail and 300. When you start wasting the judge's time and they're offering a simple deal like that, like a simple misdemeanor or something like that, like just take the deal. Don't try to study for the next 80 hours. Like, what's your time worth? Do you want to study for the next 80 hours on how to be sovereign in court for a $100 fine? Do you want to do a private administrative procedure that takes 20 hours to handle a $50 ticket? Like, I pay the freaking $50 ticket a lot of times. Those picture things, I can go to court. If you get a photo of your license plate in court, you can go in court and beat it saying that you weren't served properly. If you go to the way the administrative procedure works, you weren't given proper notice. You can go in there and dismiss it that way. But guess what? Then I got to take 4 hours out of my day to go there to freaking deal with some stupid traffic infraction that could be continued, or unless you take control of the court, then you got to go in there and control the court. And it's like, do you really want to do all that? It's up to you. To each their own. Just pick your battles. Be careful what you're battling. So, Aaron Harrod, who in here has done the FOIA request with the USCIS? Spoiler alert: you are not a U.S. citizen. Wow. I don't even know what a USCIS is. What does the IS mean on USCIS? Jose, I bet you have PDF on all this stuff. I have playlists. I have all the classes that I learned from on my profile page on my website. I have a lot of information. I also do private consultations. And a lot of times people will write me a simple email, and I'll just say, watch my playlist first, and then they'll ask me a question that's in my playlist, and I'm like, please watch the playlist. And they're like, yeah, but I just need this. And I'm like, it's answered in my playlist. Please watch them. Humble, you're reaching exactly who you are intended to, your value and appreciated energy. Thank you so much, Humble Hollow. Much appreciated. I appreciate your words as well, and your love, and I appreciate all y'all being in here, all 30 of y'all, like, for educating yourself and trying to become more edified and body of unity with me. It's great. I love edifying this. .gg. Love is the greatest of these. It is. It is the absolute, that all law. I mean, it says it's right there in the scripture. My favorite law book. It says love is the most important. Love yourself as others, and love is all law. Is the most important commandment. And you go through the scriptures. I mentioned it. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of scriptural laws. And then when you get outside of that, there's thousands and thousands and billions and millions of codes and policies and statutes. And if you want to be bound by that, good luck, because last time I checked, all of us create freaking felonies like all the time on accident. Because we don't even know, because there's so many. And I don't know if I've told this story on live or not before, but when I got out of jail and went through, I started learning about reading before I signed stuff. I went to the probation officer and they were like, sign this, and it said, I will abide by every federal, local, state, city, code, policy, public statute, blah, blah. And I was like, can I get a copy of that? Which I knew, would be millions of pages. I was like, can I get a copy of that because you want me to abide by all this? And she was like, oh, we just kind of usually just deal with that when you break one. And I'm like, what? I was like, I pictured my apartment. In my mind, I was laughing. I was like, I wanted to get a copy of all of these things that you're asking me to abide by. Every federal, state, local, and city code, policy, and statute. Because if you want me to sign that I'm agreed to all this, I need to read them, right? Which would take me the rest of my life. But and it's just funny in my mind. I'm picturing like stacks of paper up to the ceiling almost of freaking all these policies, codes, and statutes that binds everybody that doesn't understand the truth and knowledge of how to be free. So, agape, yeah, that's love. That's the Greek, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the Greek word for love. 100%. Yo, what's up, Black Swan? Welcome. How you doing? Jerusalem. The first 7 days combined with chakras, long-time Christian confused. Okay. Yeah, so there's, remember that there's natural, spiritual, and commercial definitions for all of the nouns in the scriptures, okay? Our natural body is the temple, but that is kind of a spiritual understanding of how everything works. And I'm going to actually make a video, and I think that's going to be my next one. I'm going to make a video on the body being the temple and talk about how Solomon, King David wanted to make the creator. Well, it actually starts all the way back in the Old Testament with the tabernacles, and our bodies are the tabernacles where the feast and the harvest are supposed to be coming from. But King David wanted to build the creator a solid temple, and the Lord didn't put that on him because that was a kind of a curse to build a solid building for a place of worship, because we're really the true temples. That's the temple right here. Boom. So when you're going through the creation, what I outlined, I'm not saying that there wasn't a natural creation. I'm not saying that the world wasn't, the earth wasn't created that way. I'm not saying that the spiritual interpretation is the only way either. I'm just showing a spiritual interpretation of how the creators are speaking spiritually, not naturally, to how you can become one with the creators, right? And when you look up Elohim, it's created as plural. And I have a few playlists. I don't know if you watched all 7 days or did you just watch the 7th day. But if you watch all the days, I kind of lead up to, and I have the what I'm reading from for day 1 on, and it's so simple when you start about it. When in the beginning it says, God said, "Let there be light," and then there was light. So there's your light. There's one light, and then later on day 4, I think it is, they talk about two lights, 2 more lights. So now we got 3 lights playing, right? And it took me a while to understand how all the lights work, but we have a natural light, we have a spiritual light, which is all the light that we can't see and frequencies even beyond that we can comprehend and all that stuff. And then we have the commercial light, which is the interface between the spirit and the natural light that flows, either positive or negative. But you can DM me. The 7 days is a walk of becoming one with the Creator, where you get to day 8 and you actually pierce the flesh and you are moving beyond the natural realm into a more perfect body of unity. That's what the 8th day is, the circumcision of the flesh that goes beyond. And eventually I'll probably make that video as well. But Black Swan, yeah, figure it out. Did you figure it out, buddy? Did you figure out how your dad's secret works yet? So kittens are cool. That's a nice user handle. What happens when we endorse a credit app with 31 CFR 328? You're basically using a federal, which is enforceable. You're using someone else's codes, policies, and procedures to enforce something that are copywritten. When you try to use public policy codes and statutes, when something's copywritten, you have to basically abide by the copyholder's rules. Now, what's cool when you understand contract law and corporations and how they're established and all that is they're all bound by this stuff. And that's what I try to tell everybody. If you're going to use that, put it in a box so that you're not giving up jurisdiction. When something's in a box, it's there, but it's not part of the contract. All the corporations are bound by stuff like that code. We're not as a human, but corporations are, and you can enforce it on them. But like I said, you got to be very careful, and that's why I say when you're going to put a code or policy or UCC or USC or whatever that the corporations are bound by on a document, put it inside of a box. That way you're not giving up jurisdiction, and that way you're not infringing on copyrights because it's there. Yeah, I've seen legal documents where judges put boxes on stuff as well. It's a sneaky game. Like, it's tricky. It takes a while to learn all this stuff, but it just is what it is. Oh, you've watched all 3. You've watched all 7 multiple times. Okay. Did you logistical? Did you see the document that I was reading from? That might help you. Now, it is not finished. Like, a lot of my works aren't finished, and it's part of my walk is I'm laying the foundations, and others have to build upon it. But I have many works, and they're great, and there's very few workers. And if you go on my website under Spirit, I think it's Bible Study, you will find the document that I'm reading off of if you want to take the next step for spiritual understanding and learning. Now, like I said, that's spiritual. You can read the entire Bible in the natural sense, and it's beautiful and smart, and it's amazing. But it'll tell you in the scriptures, point blank in the Old Testament, people can't even understand the natural realm. You can't even understand how nature works, and you're trying to learn spiritual stuff. So just understand that the Spirit is the most important stuff, but it's not super simple other than love is all law. Love is the most important thing to understand. Now, if you want to start taking your creation and walk with the Creator to the next level, and you've received the Spirit that is whole, you've expressed the contract of unity with the Creators, and you've received a new spirit, a new creation, and your veil has been split, and you're going to start operating in the holiest of holies, which is the pineal gland, the Ark of the Covenant, where the Creator will meet you. That is deep stuff, right? So you got to take baby steps. So I would suggest going in my Bible study document that I created, that I was reading off of for Spirit Part 4. I think it's really day 1, but I put it as Spirit Part 4. Kids are cool. Pay to the order of the United States Treasury on site, then sign as agent on behalf of my person. That is one way to have something sent back to you, because you're not authorized to monetize stuff in that manner. I have kittens. I have I have playlists that can help with that stuff, like understanding how to set off debts, discharge debts, how to there's all kinds of different ways to handle. Even using Federal Reserve notes is not really paying. It's just a promise to pay one day. It just takes time, Guys, this live will be on my YouTube. The audio will be on my Telegram group. All my social media links are on my website, which is attached to my profile page of TikTok. I have great playlists that will help re-educate you to help understand how everything works if you take the time to watch them slowly. And I have additional information on my website as well as far as what it took to get me here. It took years, but all of it's there. And not all of it is 100% accurate, but it's just great edification to understand how things work. Like one of my favorite teachers, he used to teach accept for value, return for value. But we all learned eventually that that's not, But it's a record, right? So you can start accept for value, return for value, and you can get in an endless dance with the IRS because you're not really setting stuff off, and they're going to ignore it and keep moving back and forth. But you've started establishing a record as long as you keep good records. And if they ever try to take you to court, you can try to say, I've already returned it to the Treasury for set-off settlement closure. So But you're not sending it to the right person, because the alien property custodian is who's in charge of assets on the private side of the U.S. citizen. But it's a different name now. I can't remember exactly. It's not the alien property custodian. It's been changed a few times. Black Swan, yes, I asked and I was given the true blessing in the form of informational download. DTC, my man. Heck yeah. I could probably help you a little more with, well, if he's done it and gone through it, then you're good. But there's like if you DM me, I can send you, if you're missing any parts, there might be some key things that are in this audio that might be able to help you also. Kittens are cool. Do not do that. Yes, don't do that. Request a copyright exemption for use from Cornell to use the code privately. Yeah, well, that depends on if Cornell is the copyright holder or if they're just the publisher. You know, it depends on who. I haven't done research on who is the copyright holder of every single code, policy, and statutes, because they're different. Like, I don't know who holds the copyright for UCC. I don't know who owns the copyright for USC. I don't know who owns the copyright for CFR. I don't know. I never cared to look all that up. All I know is I'm putting that sucker in a box if I'm ever going to enforce it on a corporation. Four corners rule. That's right, dude. Black Kittens, thank you. You're welcome. Oh, what's up? Yeah, how you doing? Oh, thanks for the gift. TGI Friday. Yes, it is. 100%. Absolutely. All is well, man. I'm doing great. Just got back from vacation. I drove freaking 14 hours Monday or something to New York and back. And that is not suggested by anybody, except for truckers used to do it. But, man, I'm telling you, trying to stay awake, man. Got to dance, start zoning out, because driving is so peaceful. It's like, it's mellow. You're in the zone, you're chilling, and just, it's hard to stay awake when you're driving that long. Totally understand. Corporate soul is my next climb. All right, 100%. Yeah, we did talk about that. Yep, and I've got some information on that as well, buddy. The corporation soul is a very unique entity out of all the studies I've done. I was originally going to go through the DTC and then kind of hit some not necessarily roadblocks, but where I felt kind of weird trying to find a sponsor to like let me into the DTC, and then I didn't know what 1/10 of my estate was worth, so I just kind of stopped. It was just weird. It's like I'm trying to put down on paper what number 1/10 of my estate is worth, and I was like, how the freak do you even find that out? But I think it's a way through a broker and stuff that you can figure out an average or whatever. Because I'm like, I didn't want to be way off. I didn't want to say 1/10 of my estate is worth $258 billion. Like, is it? Is it a quarter of that? A third? Is it 10 times that? Like, I don't know. I didn't want to look nuts. But, that'd be a red flag. If you're 17,000% off on a number, it's going to start causing some eyebrows to raise and stuff. And I'm kind of OCD with certain things, and especially if you're going to try to freaking move into the private by going through the DTC. Like, it's kind of big stuff. So I took another path, and Corporation Soul is a great one. It's very, very beautiful. The digital clock is tripping balls. That's what's going on, Chelsea. It's a bit rate frame thing, and it's just dancing. We're all dancing in frequencies together. My TikTok did an update, and I cannot find out how to do the green screen where it's just my face. And I didn't have time or feel like looking up how to do the tutorial again, because it's been so long since I've been on here. So, Evolving Seeds. Hello, how you doing? Cool. Yeah, where are you? Are you downstairs? What do you mean you'll come up and talk to me really quick? Are you in my building? Are you in the building? Because if you are, I've met people that are like, yo, I'm in Norfolk too, man. I'm across the street, and it's a small world sometimes. And HOA is suing my all caps. What is the best way to defend? So that is a very, very tricky when you're dealing with stuff like that. So when it comes to housing, it is one of the hardest things, and I have always been taught that from every teacher, because the house is not controlled by you. It is controlled by the bank, and it is controlled by the state, and it is sureties on it, it has liens on it, it has all kinds of things. And when you sign promissory notes to monetize, like you bought the house, your estate bought the house, but they turned around and had you sign as a debtor and had you sign as you're getting a loan and all this other stuff, and then you get into default. Oh, thank you for the ghosts. You got me. When in contract law, you can do the same thing they do. You can get them in a private administrative procedure. They're getting you in a procedure. You signed as, you do this, that, and the third, and then when you start defaulting and once, twice, three times, like, they got you, and unless you can establish your own record of proof of things and battle, and then it's like, it's hard to win because, like I said, it's controlled by the state that is owned by the bank, and it's tricky. So the best thing to do is to get the true title to the property, but with HOA, I don't think that's going to happen. But that's how I would suggest. Shared the live with more than 10 friends. Thank you, Chelsea. I appreciate it. I've never seen that one before. You got it going on, sister. I'm so glad to have met you. I can listen to you nonstop, brother. You are awesome. Keep up the good work. Fresh air. That was fresh air. Thank you. I appreciate that. I talk a lot. If you want to listen to me nonstop, go on my YouTube and start watching all my playlists or all my videos, because all these lives are on there. I was just listening to my last one, and I was like, this is freaking gold. Like, I hadn't been on TikTok in like 2-3 weeks, and I was driving 14 hours. I was like, screw it. I threw on one of my audios on my last live, and I'm like, this is freaking gold. I didn't remember what I say. I'm just coming off the hip with all this stuff, but I was like, man, and it only has 2 views, and I'm like, this is wild. It's just like, it's the most amazing stuff I'm spitting out here nonstop, and just not reaching nobody. But hey, it is what it is. Big city, small town, 100%. I don't pay rent. I don't control my home. I own it, but I'd like to control it one day. But it's inside of a trust that that I'm the manager of, but I don't control true title to it. So that would be my next steps for the house. Although I'm probably going to be moving out of my house in April and going to an apartment. I appreciate you too, Kittens. Word, thanks. Kittens, I'll get started with your playlist, learn more. Yep, absolutely. I always suggest that 101. Watch my playlist, start from there, build the foundations, and then grow upon. Brown, my YouTube is located on my website, which is located on my profile page of TikTok. I have a hearing traffic ticket, how to fight it. So you don't want to fight, ever. Never fight with your enemy. If you ever fight, you're a belligerent in combat, and belligerents during times of war don't have any rights, privileges. The Constitution is suspended, yada, yada, yada. So you always want to come at peace, and there is 78 billion ways to handle a court case. So you can discharge it publicly, privately. You can appoint a trustee. You can come there. You pay Federal Reserve notes. You can if it's a speeding ticket, you can get your car calibrated and come in there and say that the car wasn't working right and now it is. Sorry about that, and you might just have to pay court fees or whatever. It depends on what you're doing. But when you break it down, at the end of the day, your car is controlled by the state that it was registered to. When you register something to Regis means king. When you register something to the king, which we're the kings and queens, but we always give up our control to other people because we don't know how to govern ourselves. We're never taught this stuff. We're never taught how to make records. We're never taught how to be sovereign on the land, by design. But when you break it down, like I said, you're just operating the state's property, and they require, as a benefit of using their property, that you have to get a license, tags, titles, insurance, drive the speed limit, wear the seatbelt. Those are all part of the adhesions of the contract for signing up for the license as well, for the enemy, for the U.S. citizen. All enemies have to be licensed. So if you're going to be engaged in enemy activities like public commerce and traffic, traffic means trade. So guess what? If you're going to be up in traffic doing trade in a public car that's registered by the king, doing commerce, even on my license it says non-commercial, but I know it's still commercial. It's a commercial license for a registered enemy. So when you break it down, you're using someone else's property, but you can still win. Don't get me wrong. You can come in and you can win any court case. Like there's many ways. Even if the judge doesn't want to give you a remedy, if they harm you, the human, as the authorized representative, you can go after their bonds, and he will regret it. He will regret it, and so will the insurance company that is underwriting him. I have a strong third. Sorry, Kittens, I missed that. I have a strong third eye connection, and without studying, learned a lot through experiences. That's awesome. Yeah, we all have all kinds of gifts. I have great playlists on spirit. But we all have different gifts that we can tap into in different frequencies and different chakras and different energies, and we're all one, and we all have these things, and we're just not taught it. And the enemy and I call him the enemy because the job of the enemy is to keep us from reaching the Creator, the spinning sword that blocks us in every direction from reaching the Garden of Eden, the true city, Yerushalayim. When we're able to operate in the third eye and come to more unity and peace, like that's not what the enemy wants at all. And they're actually rewarded by keeping us from the demons, quote unquote. There's different names for these angels, but they're rewarded from keeping us from. It's almost like they're eating. They're rewarded by keeping us from reaching the Creator. So they're dedicated. And it says when you cast out a demon out of somebody, like they will be in an area thirsting for water. Like our bodies are water. Like they find peace and solace inside of us by and controlling us, like through our mind and stuff. And it's kind of complicated, but that's the link is on my profile page. My homeboy Sav, I don't know where he went. He looked like he deactivated his account. I made him a moderator. I don't see Veronica, and I don't think Jeanette's ever coming. So I'm moderatorless. Where we at? LOL. You reaching bro is so on point. Thanks, I appreciate that. So I talked about the YouTube. I'm planning to file Form 3949A. That sounds familiar, but I don't remember what that is. Let's see. 3949. Did you say A? A? Information for Internal Revenue Service. So what are you trying to do with that? Informational referral. Tax avoidance is not a crime, but tax evasion is. 88. So do the courts supposed to let the state know about the court proceedings? No, the state ain't got to know because the court's funneling money to them, to the state, through the feds, to the crown, through Puerto Rico. So it's like they know, and their accountants with guns, by the way, double entry bookkeeping, everything. So everything's recorded. Everything that is in the public is recorded. Because you're using someone else's property, and when you're engaged with someone else's property, they need to know. And those bonds that are on the private, the bid bond, performance bond, and payment bond, the stuff we deal with in the public is garbage. It's fraction. It's worthless. The private side, that's where the real stuff is. You get on the private side of the court and you start looking at the bonds. A misdemeanor's like, $150,000, $200,000 or something like that. And we're out here, you got to pay $200. Federal Reserve notes, which is worthless and more public debt. But you get on the private side, you start dealing with the bonds, you start looking at that. That's some real money. That's what's going to the states. That's what's going to the feds. That's what's going to the crown. That's all that stuff when they're monetizing off of our estate. That's where the real money comes in. What I have it here. So you can DM me, Power. It depends. Like I said, it depends on how you want to do it. You could pay Federal Reserve notes. You come in there and just be a sheep. Like I said, there's 78 million. If you want me to sit here and start explaining every one of the 78 billion ways to handle a court case, it's going to take a little while. So pull up a chair, But you can DM me. I'll help you one-on-one, or you can watch the playlist on my profile because I always try to get people educated before they try to go into a fight. Right? You want to know all the stuff. Because if you don't have an understanding of the simple basics of why stuff works and you ask a question or something doesn't go exactly right, you don't know how to come from equity. You don't know how to set off and settle and close stuff or understand that every word the judge says is an offer. You can have someone like kick the courtroom's butt, but when the judge says, all right, cool, I'm sending a warrant out for John Doe, and you don't say anything and you think you won, there's now a warrant out, which is a surety, which is a guarantee to pay the account for the estate. And guess who's going to show up? That's what I would say. If the judge says I'm setting a warrant out for John Doe, I'd say I conditionally accept or I categorically reject that. Because who's going to show up if you set a warrant out for that estate? I'm going to show up as the authorized representative to set off, settle, and close the account as the authorized representative. Where do you want me to sign? But I wouldn't say that when there's sheep behind me, So it takes time to learn all this stuff. How do you go after a judge's bond? Look up www.bondsforthewin.com. They can help you. Kylan Diela, by asking them as king. Yep, as king. Yep, you always want to ask questions. You don't want to make statements. You always want to ask questions until you can make statements. And I try to tell everybody this is a little more advanced. After you take control of the court and the judge acknowledges that he's just the administrator and you're the, or he's your servant, you can make statements. You can tell your servant what to do. I've had somebody in the private get a judge once he takes his robe off and he's in the private and the flag switch and all that stuff, and he tells the judge is there, and he says, so what do you want me to do? And the guy said he was blown, right, because it was all new to him. He couldn't believe that he moved the court to equity in the private and had the judge with his robe off, flag change, all this stuff, and the judge is like, the administrator, he's like, what do you want me to do? And the guy was just blown away. He said, I want you to put your robe back on, go in there and file this. He went straight debtor mode, made all these statements, went all wrong, and the judge went in the public and went against him because he wasn't honorable when the judge was kindly asking, what would you like me to do? Like, how do you want me to handle it? Like, he went into like full King Kong mode, like, you got to be at peace. It's a game of love with the administrators, the gatekeeper. That is, if you come as a belligerent like that, you ain't gonna get your remedy. Let them know you are aware about the bond. All right, guys. W4 sandwich stuff. I'm not super. Somebody taught me some about it a while ago, but I already forgot it. Like it's not it's a snitch form. 3949 is a snitch form. Okay, I gotcha. That's W4 sandwich is what it sounds like. Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, so they in the private they do some freaky stuff, and one of the unique roles of the CFO of every corporation is they're able to operate in the public and the private, and they can do stuff in the private. And that's why typically when you're doing a PAP, you want to acknowledge or bind one of the three people that can bind that corporation into contractual obligations, which is the CFO, the CEO, or the president. But the CFO, the financial guy or girl, able to dip in the public and the private. The CEO and the CFO don't have quite that ability, but when you're dealing with accounting, CFO of a corporation is, and you typically you want to CC the president, right? So yes, the president is over the CFO, but the CFO has some unique abilities accounting wise to be able to settle the books off-site. All right, Sophia, IRS agents is now armed. Yeah, they've been armed. They added a lot more, right? So they've always been armed. Sophia K, just look at it as a regular transaction. Yes, and a lot of people get all up in their feelings about court. It's just an account. It is a commercial transaction. Everybody takes it personal because they think they are the U.S. citizen, right? They think, oh, my U.S. citizen, blah, blah, blah. My U.S. citizen has a felony, not me. I don't care. I mean, well, I do because it does hinder some of my public transactions, but it's not me, not the human. Like I didn't know this back then when I was getting sentenced, but now I do. Now I know my U.S. citizen has a felony, and it's, kind of sucks like trying to rent an apartment for instance. Judge's bond. We are one, and you are a strong link in the chain. Thank you. I appreciate that. 100%. I'm one of y'all. I'm no more greater than any y'all. Y'all are greater than me. Trust me. There's a lot of y'all. So. But yes, we're all one, and I am very, very humbly, not very boastful. I was a little boastful on my last video because I was just playing around, because it is kind of annoying that I can try to put out stuff that changes the entire Earth's view on the Bible, the entire Earth's, like, that y'all never have to work again, like all this contract law and all this stuff, and I only have 150,000 likes, but as said recently, I'll reach who I'm supposed to, so it is what it is. Charles, love that you go live now. Yeah, I usually go live, but I was on vacation for like 20 days or something like that. Planner, not really. Look at this form of information referral. Sophie K. Charles Brown. God chose for the majority to be and will be blind. That's right, but some people will see the unseen. 100%. User 559-203-8421074. That is correct. There are many people that are blinded for a reason, right? And there will always be poor people, and even though we're all rich, right? That's the whole smoke and mirrors of this natural light realm and the commercial realm when you're not understanding and using your commerce in a spiritual manner. And in the natural commercial way, yeah, it looks like everybody's different. Everybody's got different things. We're all separate. We're all like fighting in a rat race, trying to, But truly, in the spiritual commercial realm, like we're all one. It's all one game, and we're supposed to edify and help and lift up each other. Bread broke his hell challenge. What game of honor? Okay, broke game of honor. Knowledge is the power, 100%. W4T. I don't know what that is. Is that the W4 sandwich? Felicia on YouTube does a sandwich. She explains it really well. Yeah, I think I've heard about that. That's where you're basically calling them out if they're doing any fishy stuff with the name accounting wise. But CFOs do that all the time. Is surrendering the real thing, Charles BC? What do you mean surrendering? When you surrender, that's what's so funny about the license, right? If you give it back, it's called surrendering it. Like, because it was issued to an enemy to grant to do something that's illegal. It's illegal for a U.S. citizen to operate in public commerce out there on the roads. So the king, the president, and its constituents or agents grant license to the enemy to allow to engage in for-profit public commerce. And when you give that license back, it's called surrendering. It's like, I surrender, you win. It's funny. All right, guys, let's see. Do you believe everything happens by each of our free wills, or is destiny already set? So, user, that is a very, very tricky question, because that used to always confuse me until I found out that we're one with the creators, right? Because I know about prophetic things, prophetic actualities, prophetic decrees, prophetic warnings. I know that things that can happen. I've been told things that would happen years before they would happen, right? And I'm like, if that's the case, then why are we even doing these charades, right? That's all part of where the walk is very important, the 7 days of creation. So once you become one with the creators and you understand how there's three different heavens of consciousness. There's the subconscious, the unconscious, and the conscious. Once you start to be able to operate in all three of the consciousnesses and you start to become one with the creators, and you can start to see and understand how there's different prophecies. We all have our free wills as being one with the creator, right? Because we are fractals of the same body, right? But we're all one. So anything I do or anything that's how the ether is able to be decoded, because we're all one, expressing ourselves in different ways as one with the creator. We just don't know it until we find our way back to the garden. And it's a tricky game of smoke and mirrors, but once you start to sacrifice yourself for others and get to the next levels and getting on one accord, you're able to see that it is all predestined. Most of it is decrees, but there are, like I said, prophetic warnings, prophetic actualities, prophetic decrees. There's testing, there's training, there's all kind of things. And when you get to the 7th day and you make it to the 8th where you're piercing the flesh, that is a whole nother game. Then you are just a baby in the world of the spirit. Like once you make it past the 7th day to the 8th, you are a new creation that is now just like a baby in a whole new world playing around. It's amazing. Sophia. But I do believe everything happens by design. So, user, it is hard to see that sometimes, especially because some days seem magic, some days seem tragic. But if you're able to see the forest through the trees, you're able to start understanding that it's all by design, that we've all set ourselves up to be tested, tried, and we're all given trials by fire that we're able to handle, that we're testing ourselves with. That's basically kind of what it is we as the creator flows through us are testing ourselves to become worthy. But you got to also understand that there's other entities that, yes, they are one with us too, but they also get rewarded. We get rewarded for doing good. They get rewarded for doing quote unquote bad, but getting us to not be one with the creator. So it's like it's a yin and yang game, all of one, and it's like, it gets kind of nuts, but it's real simple when you just live off of love. And my suggestion is for everybody to do the 7-day walk, and it ain't easy. Like, trust me, it ain't easy. That's why the path is narrow. That's what it says. The gate to destruction is wide. The path, the gateway to the divine is very small. But the spiritual light is huge. It really is. All right. I took it to heart, but learned to self-discipline. That's what you have to do. It really is. Light Warrior, much. How much money is a bond worth? Every bond's different. It depends. You're talking about a bid bond, payments bond, performance bond, and there's thousands of other bonds. There's restricted bonds, there's trust bonds, there's issued certificate bonds. There's a lot of different bonds. It depends on what bond for what situation you're talking about. Sophia K, you are my brother. Nice to finally meet you, all of you. Yes, all of us. Nice. I'm glad everybody's on here, all of y'all, all 40 of y'all. How can you be duplicated? Each one teaches one. Understands fundamentals are key. So this took me a while to understand because I always thought that division was terrible. But if you understand, if it's dividing from a good foundation like your cells, right? It is good to divide. It is good to be fruitful. It is good to multiply. Just like a tree branches out and grows fruit, right? It's dividing itself, but it's all one at the base, right? So that's how look at the Creator as a tree, and we're all like the fractal fruits that come off of it, where we're all kind of different, but we're all the same. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the whole trick of the game. And the natural realm is much like a stick. Like if you look at a stick, it has all these scars and it's flawed and all this stuff, but it's perfect. Like at the same time, you know, and that's kind of it's all like a trick. It's all different perspectives of how you view things, you know. Sophia K, using commerce in a spiritual manner. Yes, you want to use your commerce in a positive spiritual way because that is the ultimate path, you know, and nobody wants to hear it, nobody cares about it, nobody wants to know about it. I had 45, well now I got 45 again. People just drop off when you start talking about spiritual stuff, but that is the truth and the way and the light, the frequency. That's the best way. Do you drive without a plate and DL? Yes and no. The U.S. citizen has all that stuff. I don't. My car, I didn't. My mom, I bought my car for like $10,000 cheaper than it was from my mom. I didn't buy it from the state; it was already registered. And I almost had, like $20,000 at one time in my life just to throw in a car. But the car I chose for my baby mama was $33,000, and if I was smart back then, I would have just gotten a private loan for that little amount. But she didn't care. She didn't want to. She knows all the stuff. She didn't want to operate outside of the matrix. So it was just kind of like, whatever, you know. But I do hope to acquire true title one day to a car. Like that would be freaking awesome. I want to acquire my own home, but all this stuff costs an insane amount of money. And if I'd have gone through the DTC, of course I would have had all that. But my path is a little different right now, and I'm enjoying my walk. Performance is key, absolutely. Chelsea, biblically, we aren't to live in the world, just live on it. Be in the world, not of it. I think that's the key. I suggest the King James Version because if you listen to my Spirit 4 video, when you start changing the text, all the words mean things. They're very important. And nobody knows this because they're operating in a very natural manner. And when you try to read the King James Version, it sounds nuts sometimes. You know, it's because it's been translated from Hebrew or Greek. So, you know, just that first translation alone, you lose a lot of substance. But a lot of the form is still there that you can find the substance through. But when you start translating a translation of a translation, and now you've got all these different versions, like so much gets lost each time, and it's terrible. How would you handle, Angela, how would you handle be refused for a mortgage loan? Yeah, that's a tricky situation because you're asking, you know, the public financial banking system for a benefit. And the funny thing is that you can show them that your signature is what monetizes the promissory note that gives them an asset to put on their books to create the funds, right? But the bank has been authorized by Congress to do that. And what they do in the public is they trick us into thinking they're loaning us money, but they also check your credit score because in the public, the U.S. citizen, and through the IRS, every transaction gets categorized and watched and tracked. Everybody's all worried about digital stuff. We're already operating like almost all digital now anyway. Everything's already tracked and monitored, like way beyond y'all could even imagine. And when you go to a public bank asking for a public benefit to use their system, they want to know if you've defaulted on loans. You know, they want to know if you failed. They want to know because that's how their system operates, because they don't really feel like repoing your car. They don't feel like repossessing the house because that's more burden on the public. That's more issues that they have to deal with. If you're a good stand-up paying subject, then it's like, yeah, we'll approve you because we don't have to repo your house and use sheriffs and go to court and do all this stuff, and we'll just get money. We can sit back and get money on top of money. That's what the banking system wants. They don't want somebody who's going to freaking run off with their car to Mexico and never come back or whatever. They want someone to be a good subject. So, dang, I got 25 messages. The W-4 sandwich basically gives the IRS permission to audit every account you've ever had. I mean, you can do... They have the master file too. They have the individual master file that you can get from them as well that has every transaction through a FOIA. I think you can get the individual master file of all the transactions that a U.S. citizen has been engaged in. And when you get your birth certificate, guys, it has a serial number on it that if you get them sequentially, ask for 5 or whatever, the serial numbers will be back to back to back to back. I talked to a girl in Hawaii, and her birth certificate, the issuance on it was like 31,000 or 300 something thousand, and it's like, dang, that's how many times your birth certificate has been issued out to be monetized out on the world stage to back all these bankrupt corporations, and they play with it. And like on the private, man, that's where the stuff gets crazy. Peace, brother. Did you do process W-4? No, I've never done it. Now I've learned some of it, and it's somewhat familiar about getting a company to be audited, but. Solo Wolf, thanks for saying I'm awesome. Chelsea, that's bank account, car loans, credit card. Yep, anything. Yep. The IRS is the accountants. Like, everybody hates them, but they're just accountants just monitoring for the creditors. You know, the people that control the fiat currencies and the U.S. is in debt to. They require the U.S. To monitor all of the transactions that their franchises are going through. It just is what it is, unless you want to move to the private. And you can transfer Federal Reserve notes in the private without having to register all of it. But if you're going to have your U.S. citizen do it, you're bound by certain things. Like the U.S. citizen isn't supposed to gift but a certain amount each year, or do this, that, and the other. And that's why it's best to learn how to operate privately in trust, because then you're not bound by a lot of that stuff. But again, be careful when you're messing with someone else's property, like a Federal Reserve note. Is this in your updated links? I haven't been back in a month and learned a lot from your breakdowns. Which part are you talking about, buddy? Sorry, I'm kind of behind. So when you look back on life, you understand why you went through so much. Yeah, I do. Yeah, and it was hard to see all that stuff at the time, but and I was told that I could have been reached in another way other than being in jail, but that's when I became spiritually awakened, and that's when I started to learn and break down the scriptures, and I had time to sit in a jail cell and freaking break it all down. So it was really cool. It became unlocked to me. I was given eyes to see and understand spiritually the interpretation of the Bible, and I really enjoyed it. It was pretty cool. There wasn't enough time in the day. I was in there with a jail cell buddy, and I'm like, when the lights were getting ready to cut off, I'm like, crap, I had all these concordances, dictionaries, Bibles all open, and I was just writing and stuff. It was so cool to have the Bible unlocked to me, and it was like, I was like, man, there's not enough time in the day, and the guy's like, how many more hours in this day do you want? And I'm just like, just more, I don't know, and it's just like, you're freaking nuts. Man, the way you just broke that down was pure poetic. Thanks, buddy. It was probably so long ago, I don't even know what you're talking about. Do you have a group session? Do you teach fundamentals on the subject? Depends on what subject you're talking, but I do one-on-ones. I answer DMs, I answer emails, phone calls, chats. I have a Telegram group. I have YouTube. I have True Social, all this stuff. I don't really use Twitter much. Trials to purify us. Yes, that's what they are. They are fire. The creators say that his agents, his angels, are ministers of flame, of fire, to put us through trials, and that's what we go through all the time. And even in the Bible, it says when you're building your house, put it on a strong foundation, because a storm is coming. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're Jesus. It doesn't matter if you're Muhammad. It doesn't matter if you're Buddha. It doesn't matter if you're Jane, Michael, Jim, Joe, whatever. It says a storm is coming. You are going to go through trials, and that is all part of testing your character and being refined like gold, found to be pure and true in honor and wisdom. And that's what we are supposed to go through in this challenge, this test, this natural flesh bag that we're given as a sacrificial animal to try to become one with the Creator. It's just a test. That's all. Utility bonds. What is that? Why did you say utility bonds, Chelsea? Is that what bond you're trying to figure out? Jamie, is buying silver good? And if yes, where? You can buy it online. But remember, all the transactions are codified and categorized through when the military takes over an area. There's two things that go out the door: the money and the truth. And the reason for that is because the truth is because they don't want the people to really know what's going on, and they take over the money. That's why we have military war script, which is called fiat, Federal Reserve notes. The money goes out of the door because they want to watch and make sure that there's no enemies that are building up sanctions and building up ammo and communications to try to overthrow them. So when a military takes over a group, that's why they change the money and stuff like that, because they want to monitor everything that their enemies going through, or their conquered territory. They need to monitor it. Yeah, my spiritual understanding is very rare. I agree, and that's why I said I'm like somewhat Gnosticism, but not 100%. Like when I read what a Gnostic is, it's kind of close to what I am, but not 100%. Like, I have not met anybody that's like right on, but me with what I view. But that's just the beauty of life. So it is what it is. 41 now. I just got here. What do you mean 40? Oh, 41 people. Jamie, gold and silver is a real currency. Yeah, it's a commodity. You can trade with anything. You can trade in cotton. You can trade in oil. You can trade a spoon for some salt if you want to. It's just substance, different forms. And Federal Reserve notes is just a form of currency that is a medium of exchange for our energy that we are kind of tricked into using, that not taught about. But you can buy gold. That was when I started learning everything. That was the craziest thing. I'm like, why would you sell me gold? Why would you send me lawful money of account with this worthless Federal Reserve note? Like, that's crazy. It just blew my mind. But you can. Everybody out there is bound. All these sheep believe that Federal Reserve notes are freaking worth something, and everybody's bound by it, and it says backed by faith, and they have faith in it. Trust me, they're slaving all day long for that worthless Federal Reserve note that's digital mostly, and it has no value, other than a promise to pay one day. But everybody believes it, so it works. Laura by Gold and Silver Bars, yep. Sophia K, what does that mean? If they can leave, then they weren't meant for us. They must not be ready. Oh, that's right. Well, everybody's on different paths, and Lulu, that's why I do one-on-ones. Like, I have people wanting me to do big group chats and communities or whatever, and I can design classes to help everybody through every single step. And one of the hardest things that I do is try to hold someone's hand through every single step of a process. It takes so much time, so much energy, so much effort, and sometimes they don't even have the good foundation understanding to even move forward. So it's like, why am I bringing you through all this? At that point, it's just me. It's just me doing everything. So I like doing one-on-ones because everybody is on their own unique path. We're all on these different paths to the same goal, at the end of the day. Like, we're all in this together. But I have learned in equity it's best one-on-one. And I reach a lot of people. I've reached millions of people through TikTok, like all the views that I've had, and I love it. But everybody's on one-on-one. It's really personal decision. Are y'all going back and forth? Sorry, y'all. I mean, definitely want y'all to connect through this. It's getting about close to me to wanting to wrap up. It's been on here for an hour. Anthony, do you do paperwork as far as trust and getting foreign information? I did do all that. You can. It depends on what you're trying to do. It's all about how you want to do banking and how you want to do commerce and how you want to contract. It's 100% up to you. Depends on what your goal is. But I have information on website under commerce business structures, different ways you can set up trust. And trusts aren't all contracts start mentally and then flow out verbally through your mouth. And the piece of paper is the memorialization. We're not taught that, but contracts start verbally, and then you memorialize it on the paper, and that is what is passed around and held and remembered and all that, not the conversation typically. Scriptures are poetic fiction veiling astro-Masonic facts. What in the world? I've never heard that. I'm not. That's not my understanding, but. Google 12 laws of the universe. Click on the image part. That sounds cool. Light warrior, who is Lord? My Lord is the one true God, my creator, my existence. 100%. Yes. Always stand to admit. Z Healer Star, why not just give up dogma for the Zodiac Constitution and Clock of Destiny books 1 and 2? I have not learned any of that stuff, buddy. Or friend. All right, when we die, if we are all one, are you no more? No, my understanding is we go back to the Creator, and I think that's in Proverbs, that we, like, nothing new under the sun, and when we die, we go back to the Creator. You're supposed to die daily. First of all, there's two deaths. And either you're going to have the one at the end, and then you're going to enjoy this flesh ride and do everything in the natural realm, and just have sex, smoke, drink, enjoy everything, and then you die. And then my understanding is that you're rewarded or punished depending on what you do in this life. It's called karma, right? But we're supposed to die daily, and what that means is we're supposed to lay down our lives for others, and we're supposed to sacrifice ourselves, and that is the person on a spiritual level. That's their first death. And then the second death is when you go on to the Creator and move on to the next realm. But we can do that now, like right here, right now. All this stuff is happening right now. You can pierce the flesh, you can go out of the body, you can operate in the spirit, and you're supposed to die daily. But like I said, it's up to you whether you die once during your natural realm, and then your second death will be spiritual, and it's not going to be good from what I understand. Or you can die daily, which is your first death naturally, and then your second death naturally will be you won't die anymore. So, God of Sleep, Morpheus, wow. We are energy which cannot be created nor destroyed. We go where we are needed. Yes. But we can also project and guide and manipulate matter. Like once you get on a different spiritual level and you start to understand how the natural realm is just simply a mere puppet shadow of the reality of the truth and the light and the life of the spiritual, you can manipulate matter. You can read people's thoughts. You can like transpire and transcend and like do all kinds of things. That's how certain things work. But all right, guys, I'm going to wrap up. And I hope y'all enjoyed this live. It'll be on my YouTube, the video, the audio will be on my Telegram group. All of my social media links are linked on my website of my profile page of TikTok. I thank y'all. It's Friday. I hope y'all enjoy your weekend, and thanks for being here and enlighten yourselves. Again, listen to this and all my material to re-educate yourself. Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend.